So I'd like to kind of open it up with a discussion of that meeting that we had back in, was that June 1st or May?
June, I think.
June.
Yeah.
So last month, to get everybody's impression, I guess I'll go ahead and start off, and then I'll ask everybody else to kind of chime in. I thought it was a good session. I thought it was very similar to the one I attended the year before. A lot of the topics were the same. Some of my impressions were that the climate leaders is still where it's at. It's very obvious that that is where they're focused towards. I think all of us attended a separate breakout session, and I think I did talk to you guys about mine, but there was a lot of discussion around EVs in the session that I went to. That was the topic, and specifically how to drive adoption within municipal government, especially in areas where there's some resistance to it, a little more mission critical type of stuff like public safety, and public safety primarily is our biggest mission critical piece of that. So they gave some strategies associated with that. It looked good from a funding standpoint, despite some of the changes that have been made to funding at a federal level. We received some reassurances from the state level that funding was still good from their end, which was great to hear. And that was very encouraging. So I guess that was kind of my takeaway. I didn't really have notes that I could work off of, but I remember very much that the heat pump discussion was very similar to last year. So that was good. They skipped over a refrigerant discussion, which they had last year, which has kind of moved on. The impression that I got from the engineering section was technology has advanced quite a bit, even in 12 months, which was pretty awesome to hear. And then, we got a chance to briefly talk with Guardian. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. So overall, that was my impression. Amy, did you have anything?
I just thought it was amazing that they could retrofit when something goes wrong, that you can bring it in and be like, okay, well, we can't do the whole thing right now, but let's hook this part up.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of to be able to do it in a step-by-step way instead of having to do it all at once.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
I think
I had no idea that you could do that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the number one takeaway that at least the vendors wanted to give you or have, was that it's not all or nothing. It doesn't mean that you have to rip everything out. It doesn't mean that your current installation is an impediment to going to a more energy efficient heat pump solution, which is very nice to hear. What else? Anything?
That was pretty much the big point that I got from, because they kind of just kept putting it out there.
Right on. Okay, Kristen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm going to say it wrong, which is why I'm going to say it, because I want to make sure I am saying it correctly. A 50% upgrade in a 50% upgrade to a system can bring you as much as a 90% return on investment and increase in efficiencies?
Partially.
Close?
You're close.
Okay,
So
all right.
the takeaway that they have is that there is a diminishing return on your greenhouse gases as well as your efficiency. So you're definitely going to get that last 10% of carbon neutrality costs you a disproportionate amount. But the bulk of your greenhouse gas emissions and efficiencies come from knocking off your peak days, or at least blunting your peak days a little bit. So if you can just displace, and it is about 50% if I remember correctly, you get about 90% of the benefit of it. So that is, I think we talked about this last year, but for our viewer, we should probably recap it again. But that's an important point, because right now the messaging that we're getting from the Commonwealth is carbon neutrality, 100% electric. And I think that is a worthy goal and something that we should, of course, be striving towards. But I think in the interim, if we can do that 50%, 50-90 type of split, we should. We should try to blunt the curve. We should try to, it's kind of back in COVID days when we were talking about bending the curve. That's exactly the same analysis, that if you can slow it and slow your growth, that has a huge impact on the overall output of carbon emissions that each municipality would have. So it's a little bit opposed to where they're saying, but I think the Commonwealth is very much aware of that, and they're shooting for here. And if we only hit to here, they're still going to capture the win and call it good. So maybe that's what they're doing, but for sure. But that's huge. That is a really huge thing for budgeting, for capital planning, for everything, right? Is that every little incremental upgrade that you make towards electrification has it's a little bit mathematically wrong, but basically a nonlinear type of impact, right? It's not strictly a one-for-one kind of displacement. If you can knock off or blunt your peak days, and if you can handle some of your normal days just with full electrification, it has a huge impact on everything. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant there.
No, I appreciated that because I had the 50-90 pretty down pat, but I wasn't sure about the technical way to explain the diminishing returns. So appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah, the biggest, it's all about the tail. If you look at a curve, getting that last tail, you see it in economics, you see it all over the place. It's not just in engineering, but that's where it's at. So anything else that was a big takeaway for you?
I thought the repair piece that Amy mentioned was interesting as well. That you can go in and actually not have to scrap entire systems, because a lot of times we look at the cost to remove, demo, take out some of our older systems, and if we could actually upgrade those rather than replacing them in their entirety. Some of ours, I imagined, may be too old to potentially upgrade, and I'd be interested as OMEAD gets more into some of our facilities studies where we are in some of our buildings in terms of those systems that potentially can be adjusted and upgraded, as opposed to needing to have a 100% complete replacement.
Right on. That's a fact. OMEAD, since that was a perfect segue to you, what did you take away?
Actually, that was a great opportunity for me, because that was the first time I attended such a summit with vendors, with suppliers, electricity suppliers, gas suppliers, National Grid, EverSource, and other companies. So governmental sides of the game. So, that was great for me. I learned lots of things, because I learned about incentives. So I didn't know anything actually. Say anything about incentives, so I learned a lot about that, pumps, solar energy incentives, and so on. So about the writing proposals for getting grants, I learned that too. That was lots of information. So I got the slides also. I reviewed them again, and I attended some of the MassSave conferences, actually webinars in these days. So one of them was today about solar and EV. So I attended that. That was great. I learned a lot about more incentives for EVs and solar energy, and updated actually incentives for them. And that I can say so. A lot of things, so I cannot say, because I want to get more deeply into each of them, because they're more important for me. They're important for me for analysis of the energy system and for upgrading them. And one of the things that I think we should consider that, as you said, some of the buildings or some of the systems may not need to be completely replaced or built from scratch. So some of them can be retrofitted, can be actually can repair them instead of replacement. And these incentives can help us to decide which one we can do that and which one we cannot. So we need to do an analysis based on the incentives that we're gonna get. So for example, maybe it would be better for me to replace this old boiler and burner, put it away, and buy a heat pump because of the incentives. So we're gonna have a short payback period. Maybe I can pay a little amount of money to, for example, to repair it. But is it worth it? So isn't it better to replace it because of the incentives? We're gonna get money back soon. Yeah, this is I think the most important takeaway from this summit was taking a good look at the incentives and offers, and based on them we decide actually plans, which one is the best plan for our actual buildings, for our systems.
Right on. Actually, that's a good segue because next on the agenda, first let me introduce you. So, Omid is our energy fellow. He has joined us actually at this conference. Was his first day at the beginning of June. So you've been with us about a month now. One of the things, Amy has met with him. I've met with you a couple of times. Kristen, I don't know if you've had a chance to have a one-on-one yet, but at this point, we've been structuring it so much that it's been giving you a chance to kind of get to know us, get to know our data, and get a sense of Berlin and what our needs are. So I think that probably the next piece that we should talk about is what you've learned so far, and then any progress that have been made against some of our core objectives. And then I also want to talk about a potential opportunity for another project for you going forward. So just as a quick recap, one of the primary things that we're hoping to do as a group, and obviously Omid's been given this as well, is preparing us for the Climate Leader Community certification or participation. We've already checked some of the boxes, just being here as an energy committee is one of them, being a green community in good standing is one of them. We're currently discussing, at a future point, putting a EV or a net zero vehicle policy in place with the select board. So that's we've been talking about that for a while, and when the time is right, it's a relatively simple thing. It's just making sure that the select board is on board with that. There's a model policy that already exists from the Commonwealth. There's numerous examples of it. So that's not a huge hurdle. Probably should the political will be there. I mean, having said that, but I believe it is. The two next largest hurdles are the adoption of the specialized code, which I've already gotten a sense that there's a lot of boogeyman around this, that there's people don't fully understand it, and there's a certain amount of resistance to change just because it isn't understood. So I think we're going to have a lot of education associated with that. And then, of course, a climate neutrality plan that what happened? Thanks for that. Can you guys still hear us?
Back to meeting.
That was very strange.
For whatever, Zoom decided this would be a great time to force an update. So we're back. Thanks to Amy for noticing the great big blue back to meeting button. So thank you for that. And So
I thought I froze.
no, we're good. We're good.
Okay,
That's
great.
that's my fault. Well, maybe.
We'll blame it on the.
We'll blame it on the computer. So we went back to full screen so you can see us. So Omid's kind of been poking around at that. First thing that, he's been exploring our data, but I've also asked him for our next meeting to start getting us educated on the specialized code, and also, understanding a little bit what a neutrality plan would look like. Having said that, it's not on him alone. We do have a energy manager that is a fractional energy manager shared between us and 3 other communities that we're going to be bringing online during the same period, who can also help with that. So having said that very long-winded introduction, Omid, were you able to kind of, how have you been progressing on those topics? Have you had a chance to look at the code and the data? And I'd love to hear your perspective on where we're at.
Yes. Actually, first I started studying the energy data from Mass Energy Insights. So from all the buildings in Berlin and the CO2 emission for each building, the overall energy consumption of the system, overall energy intensity of each of the buildings. So that gave me a lot of good information and gave me a good perspective of the energy situation right now in the Berlin. And after that, I started, I did an analysis on that, so I have a graph for, actually after that, I studied energy audits for each of the buildings. So the buildings that we're using, not, some of the buildings, they're not, they're abandoned actually, and they're not functional right now, so I put them away. And we have some buildings, and I did a comparison of those buildings, and actually I made a graph for, we have some, so we need to spend some money for retrofitting those buildings, and we're gonna save money after a while, and we are gonna reduce the carbon emission from doing this plant. So I got a graph for that to make a good comparison. After that, I started to study stretch code and specialized code. So I learned a lot about those codes. So I know that the green communities have adopted stretch code,
Mm-hmm.
and for being a climate leader, you need to adopt the specialized code. So there is a huge difference, as I learned. There's a huge difference between adopting base code and stretch code, but going from stretch code to specialized code is not that much difficult, as I assume. So we need to do more analysis based on that, because, for example, for some of the it is actually based on the building size, and so because we have 2 kind of buildings or kind of versions for specialized code for residential buildings and commercial buildings. So each of them has different area. Based on, for example, based on the area, we should decide which pathway we should take to comply with this code. I think, for example, there is not much difference between stretch code and specialized code in many of the buildings, but in some of them we need to do that. So the most important thing to be for example, to adopt the specialized code is we need to build a zero energy. So it means that we need to have a zero energy consumption over a year. So we're producing energy while we're consuming it. So it means that the production must be higher or equal as the energy consumption. So this is the most important thing in specialized code. And other than that, we need to have solar panels on-site solar panels. It differs from building to building, but overall this is the case. And we need to have a parking space ready for EV charging. So, yeah, this is the things we have for a specialized code. Also, I think, yeah, there are lots of different pathways to adopt specialized code. One of them is passive house. So if we get a certificate in passive house, so for large buildings over 12,000 feet area, so we need to get a passive. Actually, there are some pathways, but one of them is passive house. The passive house, if you can get a certificate for passive house, it means that we're meeting this code, so it is good. And also, I have prepared a presentation for specialized code.
Right.
I can send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to do that for the next meeting. I didn't want to
explaining things.
Yeah, I don't want you to necessarily drain all your slides, but let me see if I can summarize what I heard and the key takeaways that I had. First of which, it seems like it's square footage dependent on how the specialized code affects you. I heard that it's mostly targeted towards new construction, though I do believe there is some retrofit that kicks in. I definitely want to learn more of that.
We don't have any retrofit or alterations or addition in specialized code.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
I mean, specialized code is for new buildings, not
Okay.
for retrofit or alteration or addition.
That's huge.
To adopt, stretch code.
That's huge. So let me say that again just so I internalize it. The specialized code is new construction only. It does not affect additions or retrofits or remodeling or anything like that. Because that is a massive difference for the town of Berlin.
I was just going to say, that's huge.
That's huge because the overall new development that we have in town is relatively limited and declining.
Yeah.
And as far as like massive structures, 12,000 square foot plus, those are unicorns at this point. We have some development. I could see some redevelopment taking place should anything occur down by the Solomon Pond Mall. But in general, most large buildings that I'm aware of have been built in town. So that's a big difference. So staying on topic here a little bit. The other thing I heard is basically the specialized code is requiring new construction to be net zero, meaning that you must have equivalent production to consumption on site. So that would be especially, I can see where that could be a little bit tough for a residence, but I think that, and we'll learn more from when Omid actually gives us his presentation, but I suspect that there's a sliding scale a little bit between a warehouse that has 400,000 square foot and a roof that's size of a quarter mile versus somebody's home who's putting solar panels on their asphalt shingle roof. So, but that makes a big difference. I know, Kristen, you're nodding your head too, but like when we do go to a town meeting, that's a completely different discussion.
I'm thinking, the majority, I look at our building permits that are pulled every month. I look at new development that we have on the horizon. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Tim. We do not have any major new development coming at this point. It is all additions, remodels, swimming pools, decks, those are the kinds of things that people are pulling permits for in town. And in terms of our buildings, we're not looking to build any new town buildings at this time. We are looking, as you mentioned, Omid, to review our systems and see where we can make upgrades, renovations, and or replacement of systems to look to that carbon neutrality and incentive savings, and also obviously energy savings on our bills and things like that to save the town money. So that's big.
That's huge. Yeah, that's really good news. And like,
it's a good thing for us, I think.
It is.
It doesn't make any difference because it doesn't mean that we need to build some buildings based on the specialized code. I mean, for example, if there is no new building, so there's no problem. We need to vote for that and adopt the code. So once it's adopted, so we're good.
Right, we would face less opposition, I think, than if if it affected existing structures. That's a
It would be
far more
different.
difficult
that's a whole different
Yeah.
thing.
obstacle to
The
overcome.
good thing is it doesn't affect any existing buildings. So if from now on, from the time we adopt the specialized code, we need to, for example, for a new building, if someone wants to get a permit for a new building, so he should apply, or they should comply with the specialized code. But before that, so nothing changed.
yeah, I mean, I'm playing out a lot of scenarios in my head right now. Just like the first path was downtown meeting, we've already have a significant portion of the community is permanently conserved for open space, permanently in conservation district. That is, those lands are never going to be developed. So that changes your overall portfolio, what possibly could be done. There aren't really that many large lots left in town, period. So that secondarily limits it. The lots that are available tend to have either a wetlands type of restriction or something that stop them from being developed in the first place, right? So you're talking smaller redevelopment type of things. So that's a big, I mean, looking at the different constituencies in town, I can see that appealing to a lot of different groups.
Yep.
So I think it'd be a lot less contentious in town meeting. Some of the other political, I'm not horribilizing, but playing out weird scenarios in my head. Making it known that we were going towards this code could also spur anybody who was seriously talking about doing development in town to do it.
Yeah.
You know, that just say, okay, I'm gonna pull this
Before we can
permit
get it.
before the specialized code goes into effect, because it doesn't just happen. We call a vote at the town meeting and hey, and you know, all of a sudden the next day no permits that way. It's there's definitely a lead-in period. So I could see that generating activity should activity be on the horizon. So that's really positive news. That makes our path to town meeting much clearer, and I think we can speak to it. And then, you know, again, looking towards that presentation on the town meeting floor, then we start putting in the carrots, right? One huge carrot, we'd follow the same kind of playbook we did with CPA, Community Preservation Act. Say, hey, listen, these funds are being collected from your bill, you know, Berlin consumer. Don't you want to get a crack at those funds rather than some other town getting the benefit of it? That's a really powerful argument. The other big argument that comes off the bat is, if you're a climate leader community, the Commonwealth basically set aside $1 million for you. So it's like right away saying, here, do a big electrification process. Here's $1 million in matching funds that you're eligible for a one-time thing. I mean, that could take one of our schools and pretty much electrify it between the two. So that's a big difference. Are they frozen? Did we lose them?
I think they're frozen.
I think they're frozen. Did we lose? Are you kidding me?
It's gonna try again. It probably just finished updating. Back to meeting.
All right, we're back. Hopefully you can see us again. I pushed another update and the lights went off. Apparently, my energy policy is working. Number two, technology hates me today. So here we are. So anyway, my long diatribe boiled down to, this is good. To summarize the last 5 minutes, this is good.
Okay. And another good thing is, so we can use mixed fuel actually pathways. So it means that we don't. It emphasizes on this code, emphasis on all electric or zero energy buildings. But it doesn't mean that we cannot use fossil fuels at all. So we can have a mixed fuel building, but still comply with this code. So, but we need to have a charging station, one space charging station for small buildings, one space charging station. I mean charging place for your EV car, and 20% of the parking space for larger buildings, and on-site solar panels on top if we want to use fossil fuels.
Okay, and that's for new construction. Just to be clear, to reiterate.
All of them for new.
So, again, for the camera and for the phone, in case folks haven't heard that, new construction, if you are putting in a smaller building, you need to have commercial building. I don't believe you have to have a charging spot in front of your home, but we'll look into that. But a commercial building, you need to have a dedicated EV charging spot. If for larger buildings, it's up to 20% of your spots need to be reserved for EVs. So that's building the infrastructure for.
And yeah, actually, you need to go for EVs, and you need to have chargers. It needs to be electrified for chargers, for charging cars. I mean, so not just the space. You need to electrify it.
You actually need to electrify. Okay.
Yeah,
So you can't just paint EV and then have a post there and not have any electric.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for all other actually equipment in the building. So not just for electric car, also for example for cooking appliance, or for other. I mean, for example, if you're using a fossil fuel heater or cooking equipment or other things, everything that is using fossil fuels need to be replaced. I mean, you need to have electricity ready for use if in the future you want to replace them with it.
So effectively, you need to have a transition plan built into the property if you're using fossil fuels to eventually wean yourself off it.
But you need to be ready for replacing them with electrical ones.
Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how we're doing on time. Thank you. So let's transition quickly to looking towards the fall. I have a certain amount of antsiness around green communities in the fall. The reason why I'm feeling antsy is because we're in July and we don't have a fully baked plan yet for fall. We don't have a clear runway to having the controls installed in this building. And I probably should give an update. Kristen and I spoke today, but I haven't talked to everybody else. We do have a pretty locked down plan to getting one half of this building done, the insulation piece of it. Guardian knows what they're doing. We have a timeline. It's close-ended. We're good to go. I have no concerns about that. What I don't have is a time-bound plan to install the controls. And speaking with Kristen earlier when we met on a different topic, I think the time has come for another nasty gram to go across to Guardian. Since this is the public, I won't use what I would normally say here, but definitely questioning their performance to date.
You're politer than me, Tim. I'm very frustrated. I have worked with them for many years. I have never had an issue like this before. I was cautiously optimistic, even though I had heard about Berlin's past experience, that, that was an anomaly. It seems that Guardian was running a number of incentive programs for particularly lighting, and those projects were all pushed ahead of other projects from what I can understand. I have been going back and forth with Guardian and CMRPC for months now, unable to get a project schedule, project implementation date. We did get the weatherization component completed. That was able to be done over the Juneteenth holiday after a lot of pushing and shutting down of the building. So I am pleased to report at least that the weatherization piece is done, but that is the much smaller component of this grant. And I know when we were at the conference, we spoke with the state, we spoke with National Grid, and unfortunately, it seems we haven't been able to make much progress or get much traction on pushing the BMS control update forward. So I believe it's time to go for a bit more of a nuclear option and figure out what we're going to do here, because I have been assured that this will not impact our ability to apply for a Green Communities grant in the fall, but we are now in July, so I am starting to get very concerned.
Yeah, I have a somewhat colorful analogy. It's like shocking a dead body. You know, you apply a shock and it twitches around for a little while, and it's very easy to confuse the twitching with action. And what I've seen so far are progress. I've seen a lot of twitching. I've seen a lot of, but what I'm not seeing is progress, actually getting to the end date. So, I mean, my big concern, Kristen, we spoke, but for everybody else, I don't even see parts. I don't even know if parts have been ordered yet. I don't know if they have the components in hand. I don't know if the engineering is done.
We don't even really know if there's a start.
Right.
Like,
you know, if it's just they've got all the stuff that they need in a warehouse, they're just waiting on electrician availability, HVAC technician availability. It goes on a schedule. They go to the warehouse, they pull their stuff, they come in here, boom, 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 and they're done. I would feel good about that. I would feel like, okay, we got a real shot then. This is not a massive amount of work we're talking about here, that from a physical labor type of standpoint, but it's got to get done, and it's got to get ordered, and it's got to get on the schedule. So my goal will be to send another email, and I did this previously to kind of get them off the dime for the first thing, is to say, you promised me a schedule. I don't have a schedule. I want one. And I'm CCing mom and dad at National Grid, and they're going to smack you around. Hopefully that's it. We have very little levers to pull here other than embarrassment. We need to go to Sean, who kind of oversees that program. We need to pull Amanda in, who's is an influencer. She influences how towns do their projects. We need to pull in Kelly from DOER and saying, hey, one of your communities is not getting what it needs from one of your vendors that we are mandated by law that we have to use because of this program. So fix it. Is
and I
the
have a
short
very
answer.
long train of emails going back months, and I just checked to see when the last one was, and it was June. June 24th. We heard that they had a subcontractor take a look at the job. They're waiting to hear back from him. It should be soon. And that is the last that we have heard. So again, now it's been another 2 weeks since we've last heard anything, and I will forward this to you, Tim, because it looks like you may not have been on this. This is also CMRPC kind of hounding them from another angle as well. So I will send this your way.
Hey, Kristen, actually, as I was browsing through my email to look for the one that I got from the Director of Engineering over at at Guardian, I know this is, for those of you on camera, we're taking a little detour. Bear with me for a second. But the energy manager, we actually were supposed to issue a press release about that either yesterday or today. So we need to do that this week.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's an email from Bernie Cahill on July 2nd.
That does sound vaguely familiar.
You
I
are
found
on it. So if you could, I don't know what you guys do with press releases, but
We can put it out through the website
Yeah.
tomorrow. We have a news and announcements on the website. I am emailing myself right now a reminder.
Awesome. Sorry for that detour. I didn't want to lose it.
Thank you.
Regardless, I will pull up the conversation, and just I don't want to name names and burn people on camera here, but at some point in the next short period here, a stinkogram will be going out expressing my displeasure over the lack of progress, and we'll just leave it at that. Guardian, if you're watching, we're not happy.
And I will, if it's helpful to Tim, I can certainly follow up and echo your concerns as
Right on.
well.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
happy to do that.
it is what it is. We will talk through that. So that's a big gotcha. So looking towards the future, looking on the happier horizons. We had a meeting. This is why Kristen and I spoke today. Was actually on an unrelated topic because of my election warden tasks. But I did have the opportunity to talk to several members of the school administration today, and I don't know if you even caught that when I was talking to them, Kristen, but they wanted me to be on their August school committee meeting to talk about the elections. I said, as long as I'm there, can we also talk about green communities? I'll just switch hats and we can talk through that. So I'm hoping that we can start socializing with the school committee about putting forth a joint proposal with them for school electrification, which is one of their huge projects, one of their big asks. And we should probably talk about another project that they have here in a moment, now that I just recall it. But that's positive news. So my goal from that meeting, and if I can swing it, I want to spend some time with the facilities director over there, how to bundle up a bite-sized program that we can get in potentially fall. If we miss fall, bummer, then we'll be looking for next spring, but in the 200K range, because that's typically what we get for a green community grant. Max is 200,000. So if we can, if it's a multi-million-dollar project, I am more than willing to do multiple years of green community and just saying, hey, phase 6 of the Berlin Memorial School electrification project, and it's right up the alley of everything that we're hearing from green communities and DOER that they want us working on. School grants, and Amanda, hopefully, after she's back from maternity leave, can give us a little bit of scoop on some of the other grant proposals that are going on specifically for schools.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if MSBA funding can be used.
I think so. And I think they're, shockingly, because I have low expectations of large organizations, but I am seeing the Commonwealth starting to coordinate their grant proposals in a common direction. So I guess kudos to the Healy Driscoll administration for putting that together, because they do seem to be aligned. That you don't have green communities and climate leaders over here, and then you got another arm that's pushing fossil fuels, which I wouldn't put it past. But no, that's not happening. They do seem to be fully aligned. One thing that did come up, Kristen, you sent me an email. I didn't get a whole lot of chance to look at it, but there was something about the roof over at BMS, and you were asking whether that was eligible. And my gut reaction was no, but I wanted to kind of hear a little bit more about that.
I know there's a plan once the roof has been replaced to put solar on the roof, or there's a desire, or at least that has been discussed. Now, there's been a lot of change at the school, so I'm wondering if we could send you on a bit of double duty when you perhaps go before the school committee and maybe gauge or ask, what their thoughts are on that. We've been told don't do anything obviously until you've replaced the
Right.
roof. But we had the company that put the solar on the highway building did actually take a look, and they were the ones who came forward and said your school would be a wonderful place to do a solar project. And then when they looked into it a little bit more, they're like, oh, you got to do the roof first.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to keep that on everybody's radar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that most of this actual school, like classroom building space, has a massive southward facing wall or roof. It would be tremendous. I mean, I think we're gonna have to be really careful. First of all, I'm excited. This is wonderful news, and I think if we can, we should. But the absolute ideal sequence of events in my mind would be to coordinate the roof replacement and do any make-ready work for solar when they're on the roof. Putting the
Yes.
rails up, sealing it, everything. We don't necessarily need to lay the panels down or do the wiring, but if you've got the support structure put in place,
Have it be ready.
yeah, do make ready work for it. Have the roof penetrations for electricity done and sealed and everything. So when the day comes that they're serious about doing this, they go up there, they slap a bunch of panels down, they wire them up, they run through the existing conduits and chase down to an electronics basically room where they put in their work, and they're done. So they don't have to do anything on the exterior other than wire the panels and bolt them down. That would be perfect. And I'm sure that the company that would be doing it would be thrilled about that too. But what I don't want to have happen is you've got this brand new roof, and then a month later we go around and say, oh yeah, I need to cut a hole in it, and just void any warranty, or that would just be bad. So there is a certain amount of touchy coordination work we have to do, and unfortunately that is also going to require to make sure that our finances is lined up to do that, because it will be incremental costs to make that ready. So we have to gauge the school committee saying, is this what you want to do? Are you serious? Is this, we're your landlord, so I guess in a way, granted, they're only, I think they pay us $1, but they're still our building, right? So we kind of have to know.
They do lease it.
They
so
do
as
lease
the
it.
lessee, they do have say over, certain we pay for the capital improvements
Right.
ultimately through our capital process and budgetary process every year. I'd have to go back and look at the agreement itself. We want to be careful because we kind of want them to come to us through their capital plan for the roof, because if we go to them, what Boylston did was they apparently decided they wanted to manage the roof project at Boylston Elementary all by themselves. And now maybe we do, but at the time we did not have the staffing capacity to take on a project of that magnitude, where the school does have resources. They have a facilities director, they have MCPPO trained operations folks, and it's a different scenario, but that coordination needs to be there. We are funding it, and from what I understand, that is a segmented, phased approach to the roof as well, because there are different sections, and the sections are different materials, it sounds, some of them. I'm not fully, see, we've crossed administrations now, and I've heard different things from different people, but I know they put the roof off the past 2 years, so it's coming in FY27 on the capital plan would be my gut feeling, at least the first part of it.
Okay.
So I like the idea of let's be prepared, because I can tell you they went to put solar on the roof of the high school in my former community, and it was $200,000. I'm sorry, they went to replace the roof after they had put solar on it, and it was $200,000 to take the solar panels off and replace the roof, because someone didn't listen to make sure you replace the roof first before you put the solar panels on. So that's certainly something we want to do.
Yeah.
But coordination at the same time, like you said, with whatever infrastructure needs to be up there to support future solar.
Yeah, I'll give you my gut. My gut is we're effectively absentee landlords there. It's not our space anymore. I mean, we
Yeah.
have it, but I have
They
a
call
lot
it
of
peer
faith.
custody and control. So when it is commissioned as a school building, they really have jurisdiction over it unless they were to try to like tear it down.
Right. As far as I'm concerned, the facilities director over there has his finger on the pulse of that building way more than we do. Let him do his job. Stop
Yep.
getting in the way. that would be my gut instinct. Say, let the man do his job.
Fair enough.
Okay. How are we doing here? And Barry's back there too. He'll notice it. So we did receive a request from June Miller for historical for the Bullard House. Omid, this would be something that would be on your plate should we go there. I don't want to take away from any work that you're doing. To be clear, the priority is climate leader community. It is learning about the specialized code. It is making recommendations towards green communities, programs, and whatnot. Those are still your number one things, but I'm watching you also make good progress on those even in a month. So a potential project for you, the Bullard House, which is in the center of town, is a historical structure that has been under renovation for quite some time. It needs a new HVAC plant. It has a very old, I believe, oil boiler, and it's time. It needs to be upgraded in order to realize the vision of what that building could become. We need to think about an appropriate system for that. And our historical team have been putting a lot of effort into it. They've been kind of getting run around a little bit, trying to navigate the waters with contractors. It's a very complicated thing, and they have requested specifically your help, Omid, in whether you could help sort through some of this. And effectively, the end state, as I see it, is to put together a package or at least a fundamental design for the building that could go out to bid, and that you could get a consistent responses from vendors for. They've assembled a lot of information about the structure, current, past, future goals. So that's all there. It's really just applying rigor and kind of an engineering overview to that to get it into I keep looking at TV before Amy's over here. I see you on the screen. Putting a fundamental behind it, and they can desperately use some help. So before I went and said, sure, no problem, I wanted to discuss it here. I wanted to get your take on that, whether that you felt that was something that you were capable of, technically and experience-wise. I didn't want to sign you up for something and then set you up to fail. But, what do you think? To give you some more background on the structure, you have it in the Veritas, it's the Bullard House. You have the report, so it is effectively a residential home. It's a larger scale, but it is very old. It has multiple pieces of it were built at different times, so it has the organic growth thing that goes on in New England ever so often when you got different ages of structures, and it needs some care and love. And one of the requirements that would be in there beyond a strictly residential home would be we got to keep it dry, so we need to be thinking about air conditioning and not the cooling sense, but air conditioning in the total sense, moisture reduction, heating, cooling. There are some physical constraints. It was built a long time ago. They didn't have the kind of ducting that you would expect, so we got to think about small vent ducting, small high vent flow is one of the things that I've recommended in the past to them. But regardless, before we engineer the project here, I just wanted to get your take on that. Is that something that you'd be interested in taking on? And I've also been involved in it, so it's not like I'd be doing a cold handover to June, but we would definitely hook you with June and Barry, who's back there, would be another person that you'd be interfacing with. So if that's something that you feel up to or you wish to take on, let me know. And you don't have to answer right now. If it's heck yeah, I'd love to do it. Well, sure, but let me know and I'll pass you on to June appropriately.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I think I'm interested in working on this project.
Okay.
So, how many people are living in this building?
No one.
Now?
It's a blank. Well, it's not a blank canvas. Okay. It is a historical structure. There has been some renovation work done.
Work in progress.
It's a work in progress. There are no occupants. Okay, that's a key thing.
You need to HVAC system just for drying and taking the moisture out after this building.
Yeah, so there are multiple facets to this. There's foundation work going on there. There's sewer, hot water. There's a lot of construction considerations taking place. We're focused on delivering the building envelope, the heating, cooling, conditioning type of aspect of it. So it's not the whole project, of course. It's just one part of it. For example, nobody's going to be showering there. So from a hot water standpoint, we may get away with just a point of use type of hot water heating as opposed to a full domestic hot water type of situation. But there's a lot of considerations there. There's a lot of and I think I've said this 4 times, but it's a historic structure, right? So there's a lot of care that has to be given towards it. You got to be thinking about that. And as best I can articulate the vision for the project, it is in the end, they would like to have a place to showcase some of the collection that has been amassed by
As a museum-ish.
as a museum type of thing, shows the history of Berlin, shows some of the artifacts from our past, potentially having some space to put on educational type of programs in there, and more along the lines of a living history museum than a static history museum, right? It's meant to be used, but it's also meant to showcase some of the cool things that we have that are right now in storage. Okay, so that's kind of the long-term vision that they have.
So, do you, for example, do you have these meetings or in the building? So, do you use it as a museum right now, so people go in and out, or just?
It's able to be occupied, but right now it's effectively
Abandoned.
It's not abandoned, but it's not in use. It's not like an office space that is 40 hours a week occupied by someone. It is.
So you have to make it just some kind of museum in the future. So
it's absolutely a future-focused project. There has been some renovation work done. There will be renovation work continuing for the foreseeable future, right? But really, I think the assistance that you would be giving them is one from a technical advisory, organizational oversight, and just kind of helping navigate the process. Because procurement is a thing, right? Kristen and I were talking about this earlier. We have to follow the rules. We need to have our I's dotted and T's crossed. This is probably an RFP type of environment, so you have to put it out for bid, take the bids, find out all that good stuff. I don't know whether this would be prevailing wage or not. It might be. Outside of my area of expertise, but there's all those facets in there. So it's not as simple as, in my case, hey, I'd like to put a new heat pump into my house. I call up 2 or 3 people, get a good quote, sign a contract, and we're on our day. It's a little more complicated than that. And
the good news is I can help you with the procurement and the prevailing wage part of it, but what we would need is a detailed scope of work and recommendation on what type of upgrade equipment would be needed for the space. And with procurement, there's cost thresholds. So if it's above a certain cost, there's different ways we have to advertise and get quotes or put it out for a formal bidding process. There's public purchasing is a whole thing in and of itself.
And my impression of what the work's been done, they've done some informal, like high order of magnitude type of cost structuring, figuring out what they were getting into, right? And they got for lack of a better term, the three bears thing. You had one that was really high, one that was really low, and one was kind of in the middle. And when you're seeing that kind of spread between the quotes, that's concerning, right? You don't know whether the low person was seriously underballing and didn't know what they were getting into. You didn't know if the upper person was gold plating it and just because they weren't sure either, so they were making sure they were going to turn a profit no matter what. And then you had the middle person, you didn't really have a full consideration on whether they were right, because you can't check them because the other two were so far off. So ultimately we need to get a more targeted package together so different people can bid it, and we can, if we get 5 quotes, they're all approximately clustered at the same thing, and then we can go to Kristen and say, okay, we know that our cost for this project is somewhere between here, and hopefully it's a nice narrow band, and if we put the funding in place to handle the upper band, we should be good to go. That's the goal.
Exactly.
Great. Yeah, that's great. So I think, and we should comply with this stretch code as well. So I think we have some rules for the old ancient buildings in the stretch code, so we should comply with it too. So I mean, we should get them.
Yeah, I think
And-
it's sorry.
Yeah, sure. No. Yeah, I was saying, so, yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, it's great. It's a great project for me. So,
Okay.
I think I should see the building first to
Okay.
get the current situation, and then we should look at the equipment or anything that we should do for this building. So, in terms of the building envelope, is good? Does it need to be changed or altered? Or you said, so for example, the HVAC systems also we need to replace with a new one. So which kind of HVAC system is good for this building? Can we get incentive for that too? Or so, and we can have. So you said some vendors have seen the building and had some suggestions, right?
Yeah, they're. I don't know how much you can intuit from their responses, but it's certainly data, right? It's things to look at. So as far as next steps will go, since you're amicable to it, I will hook you up with June, who's a lovely person. You're going to love working with June. She's a very nice lady, and I will stay with you, right? We'll in this process, and we will. We'll start talking because they've assembled a lot of information, which is great. It's really, it's about organization. It's about figuring out what's relevant, what's not relevant, and getting it to a focused final form that can go out the door to a vendor is really what our goal is here.
Yeah, great. That's great. I think first step can be have a meeting. You, June, you and me. I mean, and talk about this and see the building and see the information we have, and then see the suggestions from different vendors, and then we can decide. So what should we do?
Okay. All right. I mean, any assistance that you're able to provide will be greatly appreciated. I think that
And
that is just goes without.
there is in the facilities studies, there is a report on that building. It's called the Bullard House, so you can get a little bit of background information on it from there. There's an energy audit, as you know, as part of those reports, so that might be a good jumping off point, information-wise for you as well.
Yeah, I read that. I need to read it again. because I'm gonna get more focused on that. So yeah.
Right
There's
on.
a lot of buildings. We don't expect you to memorize the reports on all buildings, so that's okay.
All right. All right. So I will hook you up with June, but that'll be the next step. As far as our agenda for tonight, that's what I had in mind for today. We went a little longer than I expected, actually. But Amy, do you have anything?
Not for now.
Not for now.
I know for next meeting, I have Leanne in the building department working on the list of
Oh, that's right.
solar.
Okay,
But she's on vacation right now.
that's fine.
So,
So let me ground Kristen in that. I know, Amid, you know, but one of the things that we thought would be useful information, and this comes from Amid's research, would be how much solar do we have in the community now? Simple. You know, how many building permits have we actually done? How many? I mean, it's a simple question that we don't necessarily answer. Of how many residences in the town of Berlin have solar today, and what percentage would that be of our total? And how has it changed over time? Those are all data points that we don't know and have. So we're going to try to assemble that data, and Leanne's helping us out. So this is this is your staff, so we should probably tell you about this. But you know
That's
that.
okay. She's
That's all right.
great.
It's okay.
it's literally, they said it was just gonna be, she could type it in, get the report, and print it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say because they're pulling permits for solar, so she can go into
Yep.
OpenGov, which is our permitting software,
Yep.
and literally, I believe there's a
Just
search function.
The
and
day I
search for
asked her,
solar
she's like,
permits and
I've
run it
got
off.
so much going on
But
today, and I'm
Tell
like,
her
no,
not to
no.
print it. Keep it electronic because he's going to want
I'm
to.
sorry.
He's
Print
going
is
to
a
want to dump it in.
euphemism for
I would
PDF.
love. I would probably. I'm a map geek. I would probably map it, but I don't want to type it. I don't want to type 1,000 entries or whatever. That is not
Yeah,
fun
no.
for me.
Yeah, so by print I meant PDF and email.
Yeah,
Excel
yeah.
spreadsheets awesome.
I love Excel spreadsheets.
We love Excel
Yes.
spreadsheets around here.
I do love a good spreadsheet.
Good spreadsheet. So anyway, so we're working on that. That was actually a request, so that was cool. And what else? There was something else I gave you that we asked for. What was it? Oh, it was how the PPAs work.
And the allocation of everything.
Okay.
So this is what I printed out
Right on.
from National Grid.
Awesome.
So it actually gives us the,
Do you have this in a spreadsheet too?
I can make it into a spreadsheet.
Why don't you bundle it up for a spreadsheet and just ship it to me?
I did. Well,
Oh.
I did it, I had PDF'd these. I scanned these in,
Right on.
because these I had to go into each account, print it off.
Yeah. Let's get into the spreadsheet if we can.
Yeah.
And then we can play with that. Omi, do we have anything that we didn't do for you yet?
No.
All right. Woohoo! It's a low bar. Kristen, anything for us? Anything that you'd like to see us working on that we're not?
No, it sounds like we're on the right path, and appreciate very much everything, Omid, that you've been working on, and Tim for helping shepherd Omid through the process of all of these exciting projects that have really wanted to find someone to help us with for a long time, and we just really haven't had the staff capacity to do it. So very happy to have you here, and Omid, as always, reach out, let me know if there's anything that I can be helpful with. I know you're in very, very good hands with Tim, and you speak the same language. I do not speak engineer.
I don't speak Farsi.
I'm always here for anything that you guys need.
Thank you so much for the opportunity you gave me, and that's really great chance for me to use and to be helpful if I can.
It's great. We're really excited to have you here helping us out, so thank you.
All right. So we're about to wrap here. Just a couple action items. Mostly for me, but we need the press release for the energy manager. You're on that, Kristen.
I'm on that.
I need to sign the UML document because I didn't realize that I was supposed to sign that, so I'll do that tonight. That's just an agreement. It's basically closing it off. I mean, it's nothing that really impacts you. It's just this is our work arrangements that we went through. Yeah, we nod our head.
Administrative letter, yeah.
Administrivia. Yeah, that's it. So our next meeting, we should probably do that. I don't know if Amanda's going to be back. I know that she's probably going to want to chat with us at some point for a third quarter community solutions, but we will assume that'll be later. I believe we're currently scheduled for Energy Committee is 8-5, so August 5th, we have it at 5:30, which is our normal time. We're a little early this time, but we'll keep it at 5:30. Even though we talked a lot about the specialized code, I'd love to see if there's anything more or that you want to talk about in a quick, overview. I also love to get some of that in writing. So if you have a presentation or anything, even document that. That'd be great, so that we can shepherd it around to select board. I imagine would be interested in it. Heck, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to play that by ear. Maybe even zoning might be interested with it, because I don't know if they've been exposed to the stretch code and perhaps planning as well, or not stretch, specialized. Anything else?
That's specialized code. I think anything other than what I already said. I don't really think so.
Okay.
There's a lot of information, so I prefer some slides to be presented, for example, for the next meeting.
Okay.
Select board, and if you want to, I'm gonna send it to you if you have time to look at it. It's good. It's long. I don't know. Actually, it has 25 slides, I think. But I'm gonna be more quick on explaining that.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right. That's cool. Yeah, I honestly I didn't really mean for you to put you on the spot, but that was great information.
Yeah, because I was not familiar with even the base code, because I was not in Massachusetts, so I didn't know about that in the US actually. And it's specialized code and specialized code. I gathered lots of information. I made slides out of them because many of them, so you're already familiar. You and you select board and all, so they're not new to you. So but the good information I got about the specialized code was, actually, zero energy building, need to have on-site solar and all wired for electricity and EV charging space for mixed fuel buildings. And there are lots of pathways based on depending on the size of the building you need to have. And this is for the new buildings. I don't remember anything else right now.
Okay, that's cool. Kristen, we may.
There are some. So actually, and there are some metrics and standards. So we should
Alright.
in this code, for example, from HERS code. So we have HERS standard. So for example, from base code to stretch code, we need to go from, as an example, so I don't remember the exact numbers. For example, 55 to 45 for the base code to stretch code, and from stretch code to specialized code, you need to make 45, 42 actually to visit it. And in some buildings, so from 42 must go to 0. So, and there are there's a large table for that.
Okay.
We need each building, we need to do what to comply with this code, from stretch code to specialized code, base code to stretch code.
Right on. All right. So
I also studied the decarbonization roadmap. So I wanted to see, because I think from being a climate leader, so we just need to take 2 steps. as you said, lots of things we have already met. So one of them is development, decarbonization roadmap, and one of them is actually adoption of specialized code.
Mm-hmm.
So for specialized code, so we need to get familiar with that and then vote. For example, the select board and energy committee should vote for that
Mm-hmm.
to adopt it. And for the decarbonization roadmap, I know that some of the towns in Massachusetts have adopted that, have developed that roadmap. For example, Arlington and Ashfield and Salem, if I'm correct. So I got the roadmap from Arlington and took a look at that to see what should I do, for example, what we do, what we should we do. For example, to write a roadmap is not that much hard, so we need to have a history of the energy consumption and have a plan for the future to make it zero CO2 emission by 20. So yeah, that for me, we have some buildings and we have the vehicle fleet. So I got the whole concept of the compensation roadmap, and I think I'm ready to, for example, for the next step in the future. So it's too soon for that, I think. But I have some ideas in mind for that.
Excellent. Okay, so we will put that, since we kind of talked about specialized code this meeting, maybe we'll focus a little bit more on the roadmap next time. You and I can probably talk about that in more detail on our one-on-ones to get ready for that. With that, I think I'm gonna call it a wrap. So we're entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:50.
Motion.
Seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye.